Good morning, everyone. The Anna Kepner case, it's now more than a month ago that this 18-year-old girl lost her life on a family trip on a Carnival ship Horizon. And so many things are known about this case. And we, those watching it and those reporting on it, are wondering why the FBI has yet to make an arrest on this case. It is absolutely baffling. And it's not like there's any secrets that are coming out now, that there's a secret of who did this. I think the FBI fully knows who the suspect is. And we've seen this family picture that's on the screen right now numerous times. And allegedly, the 16-year-old brother, will just know him as a stepbrother with the initials TH, is responsible for strangling Anna using an armbar. So all of these facts are coming out via a custody hearing that the family's going to. Chantel Hudson is going with her ex-husband. So the only thing that baffles me about this case is the fact that the FBI has yet to make an arrest. How did they justify leaving the 16-year-old brother out there if he, in fact, is a suspect in a murder? How do you just leave him out there? Not arrested, not charged, not tracked by some electronic device? Why has he not been arrested? And that is the biggest question I have. And it's really baffling to me, and I think baffling to everyone that is following this case. So as the custody hearings began in early December, this is where we found out all of the details about this case. Custody hearings in a family court case, not from the FBI, who has investigated this case from the beginning. And remember, this occurred on November 7th, 2025. And there's a good possibility that Anna was killed on the 6th, the night before, and her body not discovered until the 7th. So that is a distinct possibility. So it's over a month now, and yet they are no closer, apparently, to making an arrest than they were on the 7th. And it's not that it's a big mystery. It is not a big mystery. So in the family court testimony, it gave a shocking behind-the-scenes look at the family's turmoil. Chantel Hudson took the stand. That's the stepmother, fighting to keep custody of her younger child, while her ex-husband, Thomas, argued that the kids were at the risk of abandonment and neglect in her care. Through her testimony and her lawyer's statements, even more stunning details came out. Chantel revealed that Anna had been given the option to stay in a room with her grandparents 2 floors up, but chose to stay with her stepbrothers. Chantel described the three of them as best friends. She also testified that the 16-year-old stepbrother, since returning from the cruise, has been removed from the family home and is living with a maternal relative. Her attorney stated this was done to remove any risk of any danger to any of the other children in the home. The court was also told that psychological and psychiatric testing for the stepbrother is pending. In one of the most revealing moments, Chantel recounted that her son told her he does not remember what happened in the cabin that night. The judge ultimately ruled that the youngest child was not in imminent danger while living with her mother, partly because the 6-year-old stepbrother was no longer in the home. The legal battle is far from over, though, with more hearings scheduled. This family court case, meant to settle a custody dispute, has become the main source of information in a federal homicide investigation, exposing a deeply fractured family and pointing a finger at one of their own. So is anyone else disturbed by this? How are we getting information second and third hand by a family court proceeding instead of the main law enforcement body that's investigating that. And that would be, of course, the FBI. I'm a little concerned about this. And, they say, oh, no one in the family is in any danger with the 16-year-old out without being charged, if in fact he is a suspect in this murder. How about the public? How about other people being in danger from this alleged murderer? So, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your loved ones, hold on to your service dog, hold on to your opinions. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off the cuff zone, the police off the cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
This is a short video from News Nation with Ashley Banfield in regards to this case.
Joined now by Josh Boswell, senior reporter for dailymail.com. Josh, I don't know about you, but that one thing, the 18-year-old telling family court that his mom and his mom's husband, Chris, put him in a chokehold in the back of the family vehicle, to me, it's not going to bode well if this other child ends up in trial.
Yeah, that was a really significant detail. And I think that, what we've got to remember here is it's not just us watching that case going through family court. And, my colleague Ben Ashford at the Daily Mail has been doing a great job covering that case. He was sat there in court watching this, a bunch of media were, but who else is going to be paying close attention to that is the FBI. And when they're putting this case together, they're going to be looking at details like that and constructing a case. It may well be that these kind of instances come up in what the prosecutors are building, presenting to a jury if it gets there, if, in fact, a member of the family is charged and we do get a murder trial here. I think that is a significant detail.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes trials can be just a lot of show and jazz hands and drama, but all those things matter because they get to the gut of the juror. And if the juror thinks that this family's normal restraint technique or discipline is a chokehold, and then they find out that the 16-year-old allegedly put his sister in a chokehold and she died, it's a little easier to get there, right? You're a little closer to reasonable, getting past reasonable doubt. Can I ask you about the custody hearing? Because that seems to be where everything's coming from, right? No one's talking about the issue of.
I'm a little concerned here. Like, if we're relying on the media to give us the pertinent information in this investigation, first of all, when this occurred, the FBI jumped all over this case. And in fact, they interviewed the 16-year-old with the initials TH in the presence of his parent, which was Chantel, and the grandparent of Anna. Because if he was in fact a suspect and they read him Miranda, that's the rights of those in custody or about to be in custody, but we don't know if it even got to that. But the FBI interviewed him, and apparently they're saying that he doesn't remember what occurred. I'm not buying that, of course. And now we're getting this information that the parents used chokeholds or a chokehold on their other child. Not good. But are we really relying on News Nation to give us this information? Well, why is and I'm sure the FBI has this information as they are following the family court happenings. But again, the main question that we all have, why has there not been an arrest in this case? Why? Why are we waiting? It's now over a month. This happened on November 7th, or at least the body was discovered on November 7th. Why has the 16-year-old not been charged? Is it because it's a complicated case? Why? Why is it happening? These are some of the things and some of the questions that I have here.
The minor child and the crime that they're investigating, which is normal. But the custody hearing is just rife with details. And it looks like according to the mom, right, and a stepmom, they're getting close to charging the kid. What have you found out?
Yeah, so there were some really interesting statements that were coming from Chantel, from Chantel's lawyer as well, the stepmom's lawyer, in that custody case. So what they were saying was that it sounds like we're getting close to the point of charges. It's just a discussion of whether it's going to be federal charges or state. And there is a law where the federal law enforcement can pass a case like this over to the state law enforcement bodies to prosecute. It is a difficult thing and a not standard thing to prosecute a juvenile in federal court. There are all kinds of restrictions, and it might be a difficult case to fight because of that. But there is an issue there. Although there is a kind of legal precedent for doing that, the fact is that this murder, and I think we can call it that now, this murder seems to have occurred in international waters while that boat was sailing towards Miami. And so there is a question of jurisdiction. If they try to pass it over to state bodies, will, Miami, for example, would they actually be able to prosecute if it wasn't in Miami, it was in international waters? So it may actually end up in federal court. But that is if they do decide to charge the 16-year-old stepbrother who, according to these court documents coming out of the custody case, is a suspect. The FBI are remaining very tight-lipped on this. So this is all information we're getting from that custody case, right? But another detail that makes us, think that maybe we're getting close here is there are these various tests that are nearly back. They're not back yet, but we have a psychiatric evaluation of the 16-year-old. And we have a toxicology report, which has been, out for a while now, several weeks. And so we should
neither the toxicology report or the psychological report is necessary to be back in order for the FBI to establish probable cause whether or not the 16-year-old strangled to death his sister or his stepsister, Anna Kepner. So all of this is still baffling because he could still be charged and they could wait the results of these tests because nothing's going to trial quickly. So all they would need to do is arrest him, and then that grand jury would have to indict him. And it does exacerbate things because it's sort of they're playing ping pong with who has jurisdiction. It was in international waters. Is this a federal crime, or can we charge it in the state courts, which would be Miami, because that's where Anna Kepner is from. I am not versed in international law whatsoever, but I believe that the FBI obviously is, because they're the investigative body right now who is investigating this case. So all of these things are quite interesting. However, in the meantime, a killer, a potential killer, is out there, not being watched, not being supervised, and apparently, of course, we know, not being arrested, has not been arrested yet.
Those things are in, that's kind of putting together the key pieces of evidence that you would need in hand as a investigator before you think about charging.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and
I wasn't able to beat Cuomo to the screen. So these are some of the questions that we have relative to this case. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it, because it's certainly not a simple case. However, it's a case that needs to move forward, and it's been over a month. And do we keep waiting to see what the family court says? This is not a family court case. This is a case that can be tried in adult court. And the 16-year-old, who is, everyone's saying, is a minor, in state court, I believe he can be charged as an adult for murder. This is a murder. This is a homicide. Already been determined. It's a homicide, right? Manner of death, homicide. Cause of death, chokehold, asphyxiation by a manual strangulation. So we all ask, why are there no charges yet? We want to know that. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime, you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed, Hit the subscribe button, like, share, and make lots of comments. If you want to contribute to our channel financially, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels, and we also have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels. And now a word from our sponsor. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? You must be 21 years or older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York. So this case is over 1 month old and no one has been arrested. And we know, and the FBI knows, who did it. So the big question to everyone following this, reporting on this, watching this, is why? Why has there not been an arrest? This is from Court TV.
Obviously, it's our position that the youngest child is at risk for a number of reasons. As the court is aware through the pleadings, there's a young lady who's passed away. That matter is still under investigation. That was not my client's child, but the stepchild of the mother in this case, and the remaining 16-year-old is now a suspect in that case. In this case, the mother took the children, both Brooke, on a cruise against my client's wishes, while preventing him from having regular contact with those children. We believe that the arrangements that were made by the mother, as far as the sleeping arrangements, were insufficient. That the 18-year-old, 16-year-old, and another 14-year-old were all placed in the same stateroom. There's indications that they may have, because they were in international waters, may have been engaging in activities that they normally couldn't engage in while they were in the United States properly being supervised. In addition, we will present evidence that through the older child, who's now 18, so he's an adult, but he is the son of the parties, as to violence, alcohol use in the past, and he's been living with his father for approximately almost 2 years now, since these parties had their separation, where, as the court is aware, there was an original divorce case, there was parenting time, both parties were in Hernando County. Then the mother relocated by agreement between the parties over to Titusville. Since she relocated to Titusville, that's when the problems have occurred, where the father has been very limited in his access to the children. I'd reserve with regard to any other comments until closing.
So that is part of the family court case, the hearings that we're privy to. However, we don't know what else is going on relative to the criminal investigation that is being run, of course, by the FBI. So as of today, the case of Anna Kepner's death is at a standstill. Officially, the FBI has not filed any charges or named any suspects. The 16-year-old stepbrother, while identified as a suspect in court filings by his own parents, has not been arrested or charged with any crime. His status as a suspect is a result of allegations in civil court, not an official declaration by law enforcement. The investigation is ongoing, and authorities are reportedly awaiting the results of toxicology test and full autopsy report. Meanwhile, the stepbrother remains with relatives. His future uncertain, as his own mother's attorney has suggested that criminal charges could be coming. The family court proceedings have pulled back the curtain on an otherwise silent federal probe. They have revealed who the FBI is focused on, the family's internal chaos, and the frantic actions taken right after the tragedy. Yet every revelation from the courtroom only deepens the central mystery: what truly happened inside that cruise ship cabin. The public and a grieving family are left to watch two parallel investigations unfold. One in the quiet evidence rooms of the FBI, and the other in the very public theater of the family courtroom. The death of Anna Kepner is a heartbreaking story of life cut tragically short, made even more complicated by the shocking details coming from her own family's legal battles. It's a case where the search for justice is tangled in a messy web of custody disputes and devastating accusations. It's unusual for a private family court case to shed so much light on a federal homicide investigation. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this, a lot bit. While the courts and investigators work to piece together the truth, one thing remains certain: a vibrant young woman with a bright future is gone forever. The hope now is that somewhere between the sealed FBI files and the public court records, justice for Anna Kepner will finally be found. And we all are hoping for that. And we're all hoping for an expeditious closing to this chapter, this ugly chapter, and what was meant to be just a family vacation. But there was some bad judgment in this family vacation. And I think the biggest piece of bad judgment was allowing the three youngsters, actually the 18-year-old Anna, the 16-year-old stepbrother who is yet to be officially named, and the 14-year-old brother to stay in the same stateroom. That, I think, was a huge mistake. And it's yet to be determined whether or not that mistake can be in itself a criminal mistake in which the parents can be charged. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.